The 2024 WNBA Finals are over. Congratulations to the New York Liberty. As a true New Yorker, what can I say? I also want to congratulate the 2024 Finals MVP, Jonquel Jones. On this episode, we're going to talk with our high school coach, Coach Diane Richardson, on the importance of influence and impact that she's had in Jonquel's life. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Hear K Tell podcast. I'm always your host, Christina Alexander. I've got a special guest, a treat for you guys today. The head coach at Temple Women's Basketball is Diane Richardson. Now, before I even attempt to even discuss, share her background, I'm just going to say this: over 30 plus years in the DMV area. And if you don't know about DC, Maryland, Virginia, then you should figure it out. But she has been in the coaching industry for 30 plus years, not only at the high school level, former coach at Riverdale Baptist, but also at American, Maryland, George Washington, Towson, and now Temple. Thank you for joining me, Coach Richardson.
Oh, I am glad to be here. Thank you.
Listen, this is a treat. I don't even want to tell people how far we go back. If you were in the DMV area, you've either been coached, impacted, influenced. Coach Richardson is one of those people, and I'm happy to have you here on my podcast, the Hear K Tell podcast. And I wanted to do this specific episode because women's basketball is at an all-time high right now. You and I both know that there are so many things that are positive about the game, and not just the game, but also the people that continue to influence the folks that are showing up now to say, we love women's basketball. Now, as I mentioned, your resume spans over 30 plus years. What has the sport of women's basketball taught you? And I have to preface this because this is actually the first chapter of your book, if you have not already begun to write it.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you. And as you can tell, my voice is a little hoarse because basketball was on the main stage and I was yelling and screaming in the stands, at the WNBA championship. So I'm a little hoarse right now. But I've got to tell you,
Understood.
Christina, I've got to tell you, women's basketball has taught me a lot. And over the years, we talk about my coaching, but it actually started with me as a player. And I knew that, it did a lot for me in terms of opportunity. One, it got me off the streets in DC, but number
Yes.
two, number two, it allowed me to go to college for free. And being a first gen college student, it was awesome. It opened doors for me. It allowed me to get a great education, but it also allowed me to use those opportunities to travel with basketball. I was fortunate enough to start my own company, an investment firm, and we were very, very successful. And I owe it all to basketball because I wouldn't have been able to go and get a college degree without basketball and being able to get a scholarship to play basketball. So I know what my life has been like, and I've been truly blessed, but I've got to take it all the way back to basketball.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think we all have a relatable story, such as the one you just shared with us. But sometimes we need to actually tell people that basketball has done so much for us. And not just on the court, like not just layups and free throws and those kinds of things, but there's so many other things that have just been so rewarding. Now, you mentioned, and I think it's important because this podcast specifically talks about the transitions from sport to career. And so you just mentioned how you started your own business. You were in corporate America, per se, as an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
starting your own business as a Black female. And somehow coaching became a part of something that you wanted to do. Now, when I think of Coach Richardson, I think of family. And I say that humbly. I say that because being recruited by thousands of schools, sometimes that authenticity does not come out. And so, how has that become the essence of your coaching style, your team, and your personal success?
Because we are genuinely interested in our student athletes, and knowing that getting into this business of coaching, I knew it was the opportunities that were important. And in order for our young ladies to be able to take advantage of that, they've got to feel like you genuinely care about them. And me and my staffs over the years have always cared about what the end game is for the athlete. What is it that you want to do? whether you want to play professionally, whether you want to become a doctor or a lawyer, we want to have those resources open for you. And basketball and us as coaches can help you do that.
Absolutely. Now, I have to talk about we talk about the successes, and we're going to get into, the impact that you've had on the Finals MVP, Jonquel Jones. I want to talk about what are some of the challenges that you have faced in your transition going from corporate to coaching, and not just you have not always been a head coach. You were an assistant coach
Correct.
at many different schools. What were some of the challenges, and maybe you still face them now? Because we could talk pre-COVID, pre-NL. Like we
Yeah.
could talk that, but I want to stay
Right.
current.
Right. Right. Well, when I started out as a high school coach, and that was to help young ladies get scholarships so that they can go to college just like I did. And so I did that for 8 years, and I finally came out and went to college. And I thought, it's a little bit different. It's not
Mhm.
the mentoring. It's not. It's more of a business. And I actually became a college coach, and then 2 years later went back to high school for 3 more years, again to finish that mentoring, finish helping these young ladies to grow, and then finally came back to college coaching. And I would say the difference between being an assistant and of course and a head coach. As an assistant, you follow the rules of the head coach. Now I've always been a hugger and a feel good and encourage you and you can do it and building confidence. But if you're an assistant coach, it's going to be about the business. So
Mhm.
it's about getting scouts done, and I don't care, and all those things. So I went through that in several different schools. And then when I became a head coach, and I still had that kind of touch with the student athletes, like, it was like Mama Rich, like, if they were going to cry, they were going to cry to me, not to the head
Right.
coach, where they were going to cry to me. So I
Mhm.
still had relationships with these young ladies. But as a head coach, I've kind of sent that message down to my assistants, and I find that they're doing the same thing. They're genuine. They understand what it is I want, and that's building confidence first of all in the young ladies, whether it's on the court and off. And that confidence builds great performances, and that's how we win.
Point blank, like that's the nugget, folks, because I think sometimes we're like, well, what's the secret sauce?
Mhm.
And as someone who's had several coaches and played on every level at the highest level, that confidence piece is huge, especially for our next generation to understand you've got to have that in your arsenal. And if not, we'll find a coach who will help you to gain that. I want to kind of pivot just a tad bit because it would be remiss upon me if we didn't talk about the impact and influence, and specifically referring to the 2024 Finals MVP, Jonquel Jones. What does the finale say about Coach Rich as a woman, as a Black female head coach, as a steward of the game, and an awesome human being? Like we just talked about the
Mm.
challenges that you face. But would you say that this is one of the greatest rewards is that you kind of you see the finale of someone who came through your family, your program, who's benefited, who's taken upon her own as a player, and now you finally kind of see it come to fruition.
Yeah, and it goes back to that piece about confidence and just have serious conviction in what you're doing as a coach and building young ladies. And with John Quell, just giving her the confidence. I mean, she came over and she was a little behind basketball. Okay, she was a lot behind in basketball skills, but behind our team at the time, who was nationally ranked. But first off, she came over from the Bahamas. She was a little behind in terms of the level. And I could see in her, like, oh my goodness, this is going to be tough. But again, we teach confidence, and confidence controls your performance. And just giving her confidence and saying, you can do this, you can do it. And she had a tremendous work ethic. So she was coachable, and just building that confidence in her. And I told her, you'll be Duncan by the time you're a senior, or you're going to be able to play. And then when I was an assistant coach and she played for me at GW, I kept saying, you're going to be a pro. You're going to be a pro. And it's come to fruition. And then each step of the way, you can do this. You can do this. And she finally reach the pinnacle, and that is a championship and then the MVP of the championship.
What did that moment mean to you? And I specifically text you I think it might have been that night or maybe the next day and said, look
Hmm.
at Coach Richardson. This is what it should be
Yeah.
about. What did that moment mean for you as again, as someone who's a head coach currently right now, leading women in the sport of women's basketball? What did that moment mean for you and for her?
Well, it was great. Again, showing you that anything's possible and that if you put your mind to something, you can do that. And for a young lady to come over here at 13 years old, 5'9", and to think that she would be raising that MVP trophy at the end, most people wouldn't dream that. But
Mhm.
again, just the impact of the coaching and the mentoring and the just all the confidence giving, saying you can do it. And that's the way we get young women and young Black girls to be able to aspire to do what it is they want to do. And that's by giving them confidence. It may be a little bit at a time, but it's building confidence for them to be able to take a stage like Jonquel did.
Ooh, 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 folks, that was the nugget drop yet again. Now, I specifically had reached out to you, Coach Rich, and said, listen, we've got to do this episode because I wanted to highlight you specifically. Again, we've known each other for quite some time. We have not spoken in the last maybe couple years, but I wanted to bring you on because I think it's important. Flowers delivered. I want to say thank you for
Mhm.
what you have done, what you continue to do. There's a lot of us on the other side who are no longer coaching, who are praising, who are cheering your success and to see this come full circle. Because as a GW grad, I'm thinking, yes, Jonquel, let's represent GW. I had to throw that out there too. But I want to
Right.
understand what makes Temple this year ready for the moment with you leading at the helm.
Well, again, it's bringing in young ladies that have a dream to do something. And from that, me and my staff are there to help them all the way. And I think we've got a great group of young ladies. They now understand that what they do can help them win. And so they're all leaning on each other, and the culture is great. And we've got talent. So I think that we'll have a great season this year because they understand that family atmosphere. They understand that we do it for each other. And I think that's going to bring us success this year.
Ooh, I love it. Now, if the recruits watching, because I assume that my viewers are going to be some of you recruits going, oh, okay, Temple Women's, is that Coach Richardson? Okay. If they have not done their research, parents, coaches, they're all like, if they had not done their
Mhm.
research on your program thus far, and this is props for Temple, what would you like to
Mhm.
share with those who are viewing and watching and listening? What is Temple women's basketball about? Because I played against Temple in my career, and I remember, whew, that was always up the Northeast corridor. That was never an easy win. It was always a tough loss. What is
Mhm.
Temple women's basketball?
Well, Temple, first of all, if we talk about the resources that Temple has from an academic standpoint, we're research one institution, top 50 in the country. So the academics and that background is there. And then you have the athletics and our coaching staff who, and in all of my years of coaching, I think one thing people will say about me is Coach Richardson takes care of her players. So whatever it is that they want, again, whether it's becoming a doctor or a lawyer, and we have former players that have done so, or what you want to play professionally, we are committed to you. We're committed to whatever it is you want. We're committed to you getting that degree. We're committed to you being able to get an internship or anything like that. So we are there, and and I like to say that I'm a coach for life, and I am. So because I still talk to players and I go to their weddings and their baby christenings and everything, but we will take care of you. And academically, Temple is great. Athletically, we take care of our players. So whatever it is, parents, recruits, I think it's the best place to be because you will be blessed.
Ooh, that was it. Okay, I got one more question, Coach Richardson, because I absolutely appreciate your time. If you had to title this episode, what would you title it?
Oh, let's see. Um, you can be that you all that you want to be.
Well, say less. That is exactly what this title will be. Coach Richardson, I so appreciate you joining me on the Hear K Tell podcast, where we talk about the transitions from sport to career. Congratulations on everything. I look forward to watching you guys this year. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Stay blessed. Go Owls.
We appreciate you joining us on the Hear K Tell podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe if you're not already a part of the family, like, and definitely share. We'll see you next episode.